How to raise $1 million. Imagine if, whatever idea you have, whatever invention, patent, entrepreneurial business you want to launch, if you had $1 million behind you from investors. So this is something I've thought a lot about I'm gonna give you here, I don't know, 7 tips, if I can fit them in here, on how you can raise money from investors to fund your idea, or if you're an artist, or want to open a restaurant, whatever business you want to be in, whatever idea you want to launch. We all know it takes some money to make money, right? That's the oldest, they call it capitalism. We live in a capitalistic world. Obviously, there's an assumption you have a little bit of capital. So before I get into my little tips, it was cool. The other day, Mark Cuban stopped here by my house, and he was here for about 3 hours. So, he's a billionaire, started one of the big guys on Shark Tank. So he knows a lot about people trying to raise money, because everybody comes to him going, give me money. So I asked him his opinion. I was like, what do you think people need to know, about raising money? And he said, look, tip. And remember, he's made $3 billion, so he knows a thing or two about money. He said, look, number one, you got to think from the investor's perspective. And I know that sounds obvious. Man, it's not obvious. Everybody that ever comes to me, it's always starting like, I want. Here's why I need money. Here's why I need. And that's great, but it's not that effective. And, I call that the egocentric approach to raising money. People do it in all areas, by the way, not just raising money. But the egocentric approach will have a low closing rate. You talk to 10 investors, you come at it egocentrically with the main advantage for you to raise money from them, you're not going to raise a lot of money. Or your closing rate won't be half of what it should be. So that's Mark Cuban's tip. So we'll start with that one. Number one is come to it with how they're going to win. Now, I'm going to add to that. Number two, from my standpoint, understand the story that's inside the investor's head already. You have to know what's in their head, and so I call that the story. There's a, if you study philosophy, there's ontological conversations that we all have with ourselves about, hey, I'm playing out kind of a story. Like, let's say I have a friend who always loses at life. So they start playing out a story in their head that they kind of lose and that things they do rarely work out. Well, guess what? Becomes kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Because that's the story in their head. Well, most of the investors that you go to are going to have a different story in their head, because they've been successful, at least when it comes to money, let's say. So you go to them and you say, I want money for blankety blank. I want $1 million because I'm going to launch a new app, or I'm going to change healthcare, or blah, blah, blah. Well, by the way, Mark Cuban said personalized medicine is what he thinks will be one of the big future trends coming up, for any of you interested in health. So if you present to them blankety blank, I want $1 million, and it doesn't match pretty much a precise story that they're already playing out in their head, 50% drop in the odds you're going to get that money from them or get even a call back. So this is interesting, kind of going on this Mark Cuban thing. We were playing basketball, played a little competition over here on my basketball court. And he said, for example, when we're talking about this, finding out what's in people's story in their head, he says he likes to go to their office more than them come to his office. And I said, why? He said, well, when I get to their office, Ty, I already know by looking around at the pictures they have. I can tell them if they're a family person. I can tell if they like to travel. I could tell past successes that they've had. People will put up, whatever, trophies or something like that. And he goes, by knowing the story inside their head, I massively was able to increase my deal flow and the effectiveness of the deals that I could close. So that's number three, is make sure you gather information about the person you're presenting to. Okay, I'm actually going to do a talk on this because this is a pretty in-depth conversation. I can't check that out. I'm planting a little garden here. I used to live on a farm, so just tilling it up here, adding some, you can see back there, some organic soil. It's good to grow your own food sometimes. But I'm gonna do a talk on this whole subject on how to raise $1 million. So if this is interesting to you, there's a button below or a little link or above. Check out the full talk. I'm gonna do a full in-depth talk on how to raise $1 million to fund your idea, your business, whatever it is you're trying to do in life. So back to, what was I on, number 4 or something like that? So you need to have an intelligence gathering session. I can't tell you how many people show up, even when, you know, sometimes people come to me, well, I'm an investor, people make a presentation, and I can tell they know nothing about me, because they say stuff that if you knew anything about me, you know is opposite of my mindset. So it's like, oh man, right there, instantly they lose credibility. So make sure you do your homework. So that's 4. There's actually about 12 that you need to know, but I'll kind of get, what are we at, 6 minutes here? It's become my little morning session, walk around and record something, an answer to a question that I got in an email. So the 5th thing when it comes to raising investor, and this one's really important, so write this one down. You want to go to people who have already invested in the type of deal you're doing. And that's not always holds true. There's exceptions to this, but I'm telling you, if you want to do an app and you go to somebody who's already invested and made a good ROI, a good return on their investment with apps, they're much more likely to go, okay, I'll do it again. Yes, and let me say, I'm assuming they did well in it. So if they lost a lot of money investing in apps, you may not want to go to them, because it might be like preaching to a brick wall, right? So ideally, and I see this a lot, people who want to do an app go to real estate investors. Well, you know, horses for courses. That's what Mike Murphy, one of my mentors, used to tell me. You got to find the right racehorse that fits on the right race course, okay? And this goes back to the number 1 thing about being egocentric. People go, well, I want money, so I'm going to pound on the brain of every person I meet. Well, that's too egocentric. Everybody's in their own bubble, including the people you're trying to raise investment money from, okay? So that's 5. I'm going to cut this video off, trying to keep this 7-8 minutes, but there's a couple more, and I didn't really have time to go in depth. There's a precise way, because you need to know where to find investors. That's important. Like literally, you need to know how to do a little pitch to them. Do you email them? Do you need a PowerPoint presentation? How long should it be? How can you know, what's the hook you should use? So I'm going to be talking about all those more detailed things in this free online live talk. So you can ask me questions live. You can access it on your phone. You just click the link here. It's completely free. When you click the link, it'll take you to my website. You don't have to put in a credit card or anything. It'll show you the time, and we'll convert it to your, I know we got people in 40 countries, so it'll convert it to your time frame, your time zone. And yeah, make sure you're getting quite a few people coming on these talks, you know, 4,000 to 10,000 people. So get in early so I can answer your questions live. It'll be interactive and stuff like that. So click the link. Remember, capital is important. Don't listen to people that say you don't need capital. But I will show you there's some ways where a lot of times you can get started with less capital than you think, which is always advantageous, because you can get a better valuation on the business when you finally raise money if you got a little momentum. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. I'll go through the other points. There's 2 more I was going to hit on today, but there's actually about 12. So I'm going to go in not in debt. I'm going to go in depth on these 12 on this free live talk. Click the link, and I will see you in a little bit. I'm going to go eat breakfast. Talk to you soon. Oh, make sure, if these help you out, subscribe here, so you are the first ones to get updated on the new stuff I'm doing and the new stuff that can help you. All right. So this stuff has helped me in the past, so hopefully it'll be somewhat helpful for you. Everybody's got their own path, but you know, always learn a little bit. Like when Mark Cuban was here, man, I'm learning, vacuuming up all I can from his ideas like a sponge. All right, talk to you soon.